This is Shardine with Capital Jazz TV, and I am sitting here with the THE, Marcus Miller. Marcus, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am well. This is the 22nd annual Capital Jazz.
This brother you have a business degree from Georgetown, is that true? And a law degree, yeah. Wait, I don't think y'all heard that. He has a business degree and a law degree from Georgetown.
But he's not performing. He is the host of the main stage. How do you turn on the host and not the musician? How does that work?
You know, like, I want to know what motivates you. I know what motivates me as a musician, but I want to know what motivates you. And more importantly, I want to know that the audience knows about you. I want the audience to really appreciate what they're hearing, because I think as musicians, we'd be surprised how much the audience doesn't really know about us. So I really, as an MC, want to help present these musicians in the best light. Miles was one of those, the music should speak for itself kind of guys, right? And that's got validity, you know what I mean? You shouldn't really have to explain what you're doing, just play, and the music should explain itself. But once I realized that I'm not Miles, I realized maybe there's another perspective, and that might be to communicate with people with words about music to allow them to understand on a deeper level what's going on. So I'm talking to people about music, I'm talking to people about what Miles did, and illuminating them to stuff that he didn't explain to them. You know what I mean? So this is my new path.
How do you tell your story, Marcus? How do people know who Marcus Miller is?
Well, I think we all are a sum of the people in our lives, right? Especially the people who were in our lives when we were young. So for me, we're talking about Luther Vandross, right? We're talking about Miles Davis, David Sanborn, Chaka Khan. You know, these are the people that I was around when I was 17, 18, 19 years old. And Roberta Flack. And these people helped me become who I am. So I know I'm not Miles Davis, but I carry some of him in me. And I carry some of all the artists that I've had the honor of working with. I carry them in me. So I'm just a sum of my parts. I'm going to do a book on my life. But my concept is going to be not to just say I did this, I did this. I'm going to tell stories about all these artists. You know, the experiences that I've had with all these artists, and through the stories you're going to see my life. You won't even realize that I'm telling you about my life, because I'm going to be focusing it on these other people, but in the process you'll get a sense of what made me who I am.
Loving you the way I do. Check it out, right? I'll take you back.
Again, I just tried to let people know who Luther was. And one story I told was that Luther is from New York, like I am, but at a certain point he moved to LA because, you know, he was a big star. There was a lot going on in LA and he thought like he needed to be there. So he's in LA, and the earthquake hit, the Northridge earthquake, which is a huge earthquake, the last big one that happened in LA in '94. And when an earthquake hits, your priorities get clear real fast. You know, like you're going like, what should I grab? I can only grab one thing. So if you got kids, you're gonna grab your kids. If you got a bass, you're gonna grab your bass. You know what I mean? If it's your bass, you know. What did Luther Vandross grab when that earthquake hit? An Aretha Franklin LP.
What?
He grabbed Aretha Franklin live at the Fillmore. I said, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
You were kidding me, right? He said, nope, that's what I grabbed. So that's just evidence of how important and how central music was to Luther Vandross's life. So I told stories like that, man, and I think that's important because, like I said, when you listen to music, when you listen to Luther's music, you know how important music is to him. You can tell by listening to the passion that he puts into each note. But these stories make that even deeper, right?
So, Marcus, what can we expect from you music-wise outside of the book and the documentary that he's going to be producing and coming out with, and that I'll be helping him with on, shameless plug. What can we expect music-wise from you? Because I know you're in the studio.
I'll tell you, I got appointed an ambassador for peace by UNESCO last year, right? UNESCO is the goodwill arm of the UN, right? Herbie Hancock has been a peace ambassador, and they asked me last year. And the reason they asked me was because I visited the island of Gorée off the coast of Senegal a few years ago and wrote a piece of music that's on my last album that just basically demonstrates the feelings that we had as we were visiting this island where they used to stockpile slaves before they sent them off into slavery, right? So Now I'm an ambassador for peace, but also they named me the spokesperson for the Slave Roots Project, right? And what that is there's all these sites on the west coast of Africa and in the Caribbean, in South America, and in North America, where they used to buy and sell slaves. These were the points of embarkation or debarkation, right? This is where they would put the slaves on the boat or take them off the boat. And these places are historical landmarks, and we're going to use these landmarks as a way to remind people and to educate young people who aren't as educated about slavery as we are. You'd be surprised how that story is not getting passed down, you know? So we want to make sure people don't forget, because if you forget, what happens? It gets repeated, right? So musically what I'd like to do is visit some of these slave ports and record some music in those sites, you know what I mean? West coast of Africa, maybe Nigeria or Senegal, places like that. In the Caribbean, excuse me, maybe Martinique or something like that. So that's my idea.
Why music, Marcus? I mean, I know that you are a creative expression through expressor through music. Why do you think music can help tell that story?
Because music was our salvation for Africans and African Americans. When Africans were captured and brought to the New World, they took away our culture, took away our home, took away our language, right? So now we're in the slave fields, not allowed to talk.
Right.
All we could do was sing. And so through those notes, the whole story was told. The whole story was told. So when you hear R&B today, when you hear the blues, when you hear jazz, the reason that music has such emotional depth is because that music is an extension of those slave songs, and that music carries our entire history. That's all we had. So that's why music is so important. That's why when Africans got introduced to the European religion, they said, okay, we're going to accept this religion, but it's going to have to change a little bit. And that's when you had gospel music the way it exists now.
Right, I know that's right.
Because if you got somebody from 16th century England and showed them a contemporary black Christian church, he'd be like, oh, that's the devil. That's the he wouldn't be able to process it, because the music is so important, the emotion is so evident, right? That's how we are. So anyway, music plays a really important part in our culture and our story.
Right here. So Marcus, we've got to continue this conversation here. Thank you for all the work that you do as a musician. Like he says he's not Miles Davis, but genius is sitting next to me. Thank you for all that you do, honestly, seriously, for humanity outside of just music, for humanity, period. Thank you for your story.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much.